Illinois corruption is infamous. From Chicago aldermen with nicknames like Fast Eddie, Bathhouse, and Hinky Dink, to imprisoned governors like Blagojevich and George Ryan, to the Richard J. Daley machine and its most prolific products, Ed Burke and Michael Madigan. Corruption here can seem truly cartoonish, but it's not just those faces of corruption that gave Illinois such a bad reputation. Just look at the data. From 1983 to 2018, Illinois was home to 1,978 public corruption convictions. That's more than one public corruption conviction per week for 35 years running. Adjusting for population, that's a higher rate of corruption convictions than any big state in the country. And that's just illegal corruption, the stuff that can land you in prison. Illinois is also home to corruption under the law, like a union executive getting a lifetime teacher pension after substitute teaching for a day, or elected officials getting business as attorneys specializing in property tax appeals, or state lawmakers picking their voters with gerrymandered maps. But why is Illinois government so much more corrupt than other states? Scholars like University of Illinois Chicago professor Dick Simpson have argued corruption is a cultural problem in Illinois. Rather than a culture of public service and integrity, Chicago and Illinois politicians from both parties see public office as a means for their own private gain. That culture is real, and it comes from two sources: leadership and systems. First, the leadership. Late Chicago Mayor Richard J. Daley created what many people consider the most well-oiled political machine in American history. You vote for me, I give you a taxpayer-funded patronage job, you get others to vote for me, and so on and so on. Michael Madigan, a Daley protege, was brought up in that same patronage system, and he brought that culture to Springfield over his 34-year reign as Speaker of the House, the longest anyone has ever held that role in any state house in the history of the United States. The problem is, even though Daley and Madigan don't hold office anymore, many of the same systems they built or refused to fix are still in place today. Take the watchdog responsible for investigating state lawmakers in Illinois. That office is called the Legislative Inspector General. Former Legislative Inspector General Carol Pope herself described the office as a powerless paper tiger. That's because in order to publish any findings or issue subpoenas while investigating state lawmakers, the Inspector General has to get permission from a panel called the Legislative Ethics Commission, which is made up of state lawmakers. In other words, the fox is guarding the hen house. Here's another example. Right now, state lawmakers can vote on a bill on the last day of their term in Springfield, and then get a job as a lobbyist the next day. In fact, in 5 of the last 6 Illinois General Assemblies, someone has gone from lawmaker to lobbyist in less than a year. In most states, that's not allowed to happen. Too often, Illinois' massive corruption problem leads to apathy from Illinois voters. We accept it for what it is, we throw up our hands and think nothing can ever be done to change the system. That's wrong, and it's part of why this culture continues. Copying a few reforms common in other states would go a long way toward fixing this problem. Here are just a few. First, put at least a 1-year buffer between the time a lawmaker leaves office and becomes a lobbyist. This is called a revolving door rule, and it creates a cooling off period that would bring Illinois' lobbying restrictions more in line with other states. Second, eliminate loopholes that would allow lawmakers to lobby other units of government. You shouldn't be a lawmaker in Springfield deciding local government policy while lobbying those local governments themselves. Third, empower the Legislative Inspector General to issue subpoenas and to publish their findings without permission from the lawmakers they may be investigating. Fourth, include the financial interests of lawmakers' immediate family members on statements of economic interest. Other structural reforms like independent political maps and making the House Speaker and Senate President less powerful would also be major ethics wins in Illinois. Illinois is home to the nation's worst corruption problem. It is systemically corrupt. So instead of depending on the feds to arrest yet another corrupt Illinois politician, it's time we fixed the system itself.